Hello, this is Randy. Thank you for joining me for Brain Break one more time. I had talked in a previous episode about being asked to be a prison chaplain to visit one of the young men that I had been working with in the Boy Scouts of America program. And that was a little scary. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But in the meantime, there were other people in the El Paso County Jail that were from my church, and they asked me to go visit with them. And now, as a chaplain, I could go right in to see them. Uh, I didn't have to wait in line. And that was a huge time saver. But then I got a call from the federal penitentiary because my name had been published as the chaplain for my denomination. And so I went out there. Now, I did all this on my own time, either during lunch if I was local or after hours when I was traveling for my company. I worked for a very large uh, chemical manufacturer and food service manufacturer. And so I was calling on restaurants and hotels, uh, people that served a lot of food. For instance, one of my customers was Carlsbad's Caverns, which bought more frying oil than anybody outside of Disneyland west of the Mississippi at the time. And it was pretty fascinating work. But I was traveling a bit to be able to accomplish what I needed to do. And so in the evenings, instead of sitting around when I was in the neighborhood of one of these prisons, that's who I would go see is the folks at the prison. And I enjoyed it. It made me grow up an awful lot. As I said before, I was rather young, 27, 28 at most at the end of it. And we had moved back to Arizona. And someone asked me if I wanted to get involved in the prison ministry. And the closest prison was well over an hour away. And I wasn't all that excited about that. One of the reasons is when you go inside a prison, one of the things you're told is going to happen, whether it does or not while you're there, is there will be lockdowns. And I had been involved in many lockdowns. Um, and what happens is all the employees, when a lockdown occurs, they know where they can go or where they have to go. And you basically are staying wherever you are. And one time I was at a penitentiary and they had a lockdown, and I was the only non trustee in the office of the penitentiary. The warden left, all the guards left, the front office help, they all left. And so I was the only non prison employee and non prisoner there. And I was with several prisoners. I later found out one of the prisoners had a very bad reputation, but it had been years ago, and they were just glad I was safe. And so it was kind of an interesting experience. And I had several of those. One time I was in a kitchen where inmates have knives, and there was a lockdown because I sold to restaurants. And so I was trying to help them with some purchases and resolve some problems they had with quality from another vendor. Um, anyway, when we moved back to Arizona, I had been introduced through some friends to people that were in the state legislature, and they were talking about putting me on the Prisons and Parole Board. And I thought that would be interesting, and my bosses thought it would be great. They would support me in that, and so I went and spent some time getting to know these people, and they were all for it. The problem was is not all of them were as honest as they should have been. A lot of them ended up in prison because at the time Arizona was going through something they didn't know about, and that was called ASCAM, as in AZ scam, Arizona scam. And what it was were they were talking about bringing legalized gambling to Arizona, and all of these state legislators wanted to get a part of the action. One guy from Tucson, for instance, wanted to have a piece of all of the shrimp that came out of the Gulf of California that would be sold. That he had relatives down there that would help him get a good deal. He just wanted a part of it. And they brought in an undercover FBI informant who basically got a lot of them to, on tape, show what they had done. Part of this happened in a restaurant that I had been invited to. And I was just terrified when all this came out that I was going to be on the news. Not that I had done anything, I hadn't offered anybody any money, I hadn't accepted any money, but it was a little bit scary. Uh, and it turned out that the guy that was in charge of the naming the next person to the Prison and Parole Board didn't name me, didn't name anybody because he was going to prison. Um, so it was an interesting experience. I had the opportunity of going to Arizona's death row and being given a tour of the prison because I'd never seen it, driven by it a number of times, but never seen the inside. And so this warden kindly took me through the whole prison, including death row and the gas chamber where they put people to death. And we were in the death row, and there was a lockdown. And so the guards disappear. They take the warden with them, and I am there in death row outside of the, the bars, but I'm still in death row with all of these convicted murderers. And I was sitting against a wall, just waiting for them to come get me. It took about an hour and a half for the lockdown to go away, and they finally came and got me and took me out. But in the meantime, I had a number of discussions with some people that were pretty scary because of their feeling about human life. And just one of the adventures I've had in my life. I am glad that I have lived my life in such a way that I haven't had to go to prison. It's not a good place to be. And I'm glad that I had a father and a mother that taught me to do the right thing for the right reasons, and I would be okay. And I'm grateful for that. So I want to thank you again for listening and giving me a chance to tell some of my stories. I've had an interesting life, and I appreciate your support. I hope you're having a great day, and please like and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Thank you.